name's McGilloway. I'm from BigSmall product design consultancy based in Belfast. I'm going to keep my coat on because I thought coming south of the border it was going to be really sunny and warm, and I've got a short sleeve shirt on and it's freezing. I've recently started the business. I'm an army of one, as I say, and luckily enough I've got a really good list of subcontractors. I've been a product designer for about 12 years. Graduate of University of Ulster, past student of Anto Hutton, who's going to speak in a couple of speakers' time, who kicked my ass for a couple of years and taught me things about the world. I've been up and going commercially about 7 weeks. Previous to that, BigSmall was a brand inside University of Ulster where myself and Justin McGee, who is one of the other product design lecturers at McGee campus, he doesn't own it, that just happens to be the name, he was kind of the partner, and if he was standing beside me you would see why we were called BigSmall. That's all I'll say about that. I live here, or the business lives here, in E3, which is in West Belfast on the Springfield Road. It's a brand new building. Belfast Met, which is the biggest FE college in the north, built this £14 million building on the Peace Line, so it's kind of in a very colourful place. A few times a year the building isn't quite as accessible as it might be, but it's purposely built for creative learning as a creative space where people come for 6-week blocks of their curriculum, and they come here really to learn about collaboration, team working, and they respond to live briefs that are set by local manufacturing, design, digital companies, whatever it might be. FE is quite a difficult sector to work in. I worked there for about 3 years, and we used to call it riot theory, where if the teachers in primary schools went on strike, the parents went up in arms. If universities, lecturers went on strike, the students went up in arms. If FE went on strike, nobody really cared, you know, it didn't really matter. I suppose the thing that brought me to product design was that I like to do one thing more than anything else, and that's draw. I just could draw from 9 o'clock till 5, absolutely no problems, all types, whether it be persuasive drawing like this, whether it be problem solving or exploratory drawing. But I quickly realized, even at school, that there were people here better at drawing than me, so I couldn't make it as an artist. I didn't want to be broke, and when I got to foundation, one of the tutors pushed me in the role of design and said, you know, you might be able to make a bit of money at that if you keep your head down. So thankfully it's flourished into a career. I've worked on all sorts of things in the last 12 years, basically anything that's manufactured. I'm only going to show a couple of slides of my work because what I want to talk about is really about how I got to this place. Chop and Change just recently launched at 100% Design. It's a collaboration between husband and wife team, Nelson and Caroline Santos. Caroline's a brand designer, Nelson is I suppose a product designer, and this was really about the manufactured object. That's the type of work that we did there, and this is a modular kitchen that can be for domestic or hotel or cocktail bars. I never show this to my wife because she'll want one, and they're very expensive. So the work ranges from straightforward creation of product or object or artifact to something that's a little bit more strategic. So Andor Technology, who are just a stone's throw from the office, are one of my biggest clients. They make scientific imaging cameras for spectroscopy and Raman spectroscopy. This is the Neo, which was shortlisted last year for the McRobert UK Engineering Award, and it lost out to the Jaguar, Range Rover, Tata, Evoque. Those guys don't really care about curing cancer, they just want fancy cars. What I did with these guys was slightly more strategic. What happens in Andor is that you have 5 or 6 teams that work on different cameras, teams of engineers, really capable guys, but they're all siloed. And what you get out the far side is a real mishmash. It looks like a Renault showroom, basically through the ages. If you know anything about Renault cars, they basically scrap their style book and do something different every year. And what we wanted to try and do was move them to Volkswagen, while at the same time breaking down all the barriers between the engineers. So managed to do a little bit of that. We put in a style form, had a little bit of a cultural change, and things are going reasonably well. I suppose what I wanted to talk about was a little bit about identity, and I love this image from the British Pavilion at Beijing. This is Thomas Heatherwick. And really the whole purpose of this project was to spell out to the Chinese people that when the Olympics moved into Britain, that Britain wasn't the place where Oliver Twist was still alive and was running up cobblestone streets, you know, chasing a wooden hoop. And he put little seeds on the end of each of these acrylic rods, and those all represented seeds that were being held at Kew Gardens, which kind of stores up all the botanical information worldwide. But it really struck a chord with me in that in Ireland, sometimes we're perceived at this, and it drives me absolutely mental. I hate the Shamrocks and Shillelaghs Brigade, and we don't really have an identity. And I know we have lots of, you know, cultural problems between North and South, but it's something that Barry Sheehan, whenever he was president of IDI, also hammered the point in that we should really be trying to establish an identity. And even in a personal capacity, trying to do that is very, very difficult. So when you multiply that up into an all-island scale factor, I know it's hard, but I really think it's something we should be working toward. Something that I would have loved to have worked on in the last few years would have been beats. I suppose everyone knows these. It's the Monster Dr. Dre product with Jimmy Iovine. And I like this for two reasons. I brought Robert Bruner, who's the designer of these from Ammunition Group, across a couple of years ago. Really nice guy. Absolutely no airs and graces about him at all. Really laid back, very, very Californian. And he did a wonderful talk for us at University of Ulster and at Queen's. And it was simply about, he was a senior designer at Apple. He's the guy responsible for recruiting Jonathan Ive into Apple. But he said, whilst it was a wonderful job and in sitting at the table, talking with all those guys from Apple, he looked around and thought, I don't want to be these people in 20 years. And it wasn't the fact that he was being a snob, it was just that he just didn't want to do it. He needed to express himself in a different way. So thankfully he moved out, and he's gone with this brand as one of the lead products. But I suppose the reason why I put this up there is that just before the Olympics, there were all these restrictions on identity and brand around the Olympic Village and things like that. Yet the headphones was something that they couldn't take away from the athletes. So it kind of was two fingers up to the IOC to say, we got in there, we were completely guerrilla about it, and there's absolutely nothing you could do. And I think every swimmer who came out through that swim door had a set of these on their head, which is brilliant brand placement. I'm going to deliberately steal this slide from Richard Seymour and Dick Powell, who I heard talk at PDI in the summer. This is the innovation jelly. And what I found is, just as they described it, there's a lot of companies who you collaborate or you deal with are like jellies. When they hear the word innovation, they get all excited, so they start to really wobble. But the thing is, in the wobbling, they don't actually go anywhere, and after a while, you know, that resonance sort of settles down and they just go back to being a jelly. Nice to look at, sweet to the taste, but you know, it doesn't really do anything. And I find that more and more is that the word innovation just becomes a point of annoyance for me. When someone in a meeting says it, I really just want to throw something at them and say, look, stop talking about that, just let's change the record. And I often face this, is that if any of you haven't read this book, it's really worth reading. Lee McCormick, wonderful book about designers being, well, I'll not say that, but and we have this reputation, unfortunately, that, you know, we are these consultants who slide in and out of a business, who don't bring anything tangible, and who offer nothing but a lot of pomp and ceremony and leave very little behind. And I'm afraid it still exists. Anybody who follows me on Facebook, last Friday I spent 15 minutes with an account handler from a graphic design agency on the phone, and I felt like hanging myself. It was so bad. There was no need for the conversation. And it was simply just at the end to say, can we send you that invoice now? Well, why just didn't you say that at the front end? One of my lecturers accused me of this. Anybody who doesn't know it, this is the games company Rockstar. He accused me of looking for the Rockstar designer lifestyle. And I have to agree with him. I did at the start. This is what I was really after. I thought that there was a job out there where I would be one of those people. But thankfully, I had a few life lessons and I caught myself on. This is kind of how my mind works, this kind of firework. Whenever I meet with a client, within the first 15 minutes, I can sort of sit and say, okay, there's about 10 ways I can help you, 10 ways I can bring a bit of life to the project and work with you. But for the last 3 years, I've been working along with engineers, and this is the way their mind works. And I'm really sorry if there's any engineers in the room, but I'm really going to offend you. Engineers don't like to collaborate. They like to play the big dick competition, and they like to solve problems by themselves. And it basically means that nobody wins, everybody loses. And whilst there are some great guys out there, this method of thinking doesn't help the client, and it doesn't really help them either. Also, something that a lot of designers do that kind of annoys me is what I call Superman pants theory. They create a lot of chaos, and then all of a sudden they come into a meeting and they put on their Superman pants and they save the day for the client. And that's really bad because it doesn't, again, help our reputation in any way. And it only sets you up for a fall in the long run, because the day that you can't put your Superman pants on is the day that you fail. What we really should be after, I think, is a bit like the guys in Formula 1, not the drivers, not the technicians, but what these guys do is they work on the edges of things. They work for that marginal gain. They work to improve the smallest little detail in order to make a difference somewhere down the line. So whilst these guys are capturing that couple of seconds or that little bit of power in order to get that inch ahead on the grid, that's really where we should be working as designers with companies, is on that edge to get those small incremental steps in order to make things better, not one big fell swoop. And the other thing we should be doing, you probably can't read that, but is holding fast, is sticking in there the whole way to the end. Not conducting some form of SAS consultancy where you're in and out, you get the job done and you leave, but some sort of strategic, long-term consultancy where you're with them. You stick through the project in order that the design integrity establishes itself, and you don't let the client run away with the project at the end and maybe end up with something that you didn't start out with. So I suppose that the last few things are that John Updike, who was an American novelist, basically said that celebrity is a mask that eats into the face. And we're seeing this more and more, in that celebrity designers are endorsing and badging things that really they shouldn't be doing. If anybody has seen Wayne Hemingway's water butts from B&Q, you'll know exactly what I mean. If you haven't, go and look at them. A couple of approaches that I really like are, I went to Stanford D School a couple of years ago, and that's not my report, that's their logo. But really, really good environment, collaborative working, good fun, hard working, but really and truly it's not applicable to here. We don't have the critical mass, we don't have the massive Silicon Valley companies, we don't have people maybe willing to give up their people for a week and place them in this. But the approach that I feel is working in a similar vein is PDR. PDR are based in Cardiff. Nice thing is, whilst they are based in the university, they're making a difference to local companies. They're working through the product design methodology. They're really, really pushing the envelope, and they've got their governments on board. So they're really pressuring their ministers into saying, look, what we do makes an economic difference. Might only be those small little gains, but it is wealth creation in the long term. I'm also part of the Northern Ireland Design Alliance with Liam McComish as well, who's going to talk, and we're trying to establish that. We don't know where it's going yet. We're part of a bigger UK consortium of lots and lots of different design alliances, but they tend in England to have been talking shops. We seem to have been the most proactive. And if I'm being honest, the guys in the mainland don't particularly care what we're doing, as long as we're just working away and doing our own thing. They're happy to leave us alone. I feel it's maybe a platform to build on. Something that, you know, we're trying to get big companies involved. We did a first day on transport, because our infrastructure and our transport is so bad in the north. We decided we would have a brainstorming day and then present this out as a report. And I think that working in the future could be something that's quite useful. Somebody said something to me. This is the last slide. Somebody said something to me recently that really struck me for the first time as well about process. There's one of my other colleagues, Martin McGinn, who works at Belfast campus. We were having a row about design, as we usually do. And he said to me, what you have to realise is that to some people, design is just a job and not a lifestyle. And I suppose I near fell off the seat, but he was dead right. To some people, it's not about a lifestyle. To me, it is. And as a designer, I just have to swallow that and get on with it. But anybody who follows me on Twitter will realise that I'm an angry young man, growing into a grumpy old man before my time. And you'll probably hear me talk about design a lot more if you if you follow me on there. So thanks very much.